Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I will give you a short insight on our government's response to the product environmental footprint and how we assess the approach and the communication by the Commission. First, I can say we are quite happy that this issue has now reached the European level and the European political level, because we think it's necessary to do it not country by country, but to do it on the European level and maybe have some stronger political backing for that. Yes, life cycle assessment has a sort of tradition in Germany. We started in the early 90s. We had life cycle assessment on drink packaging and on some other product category rules. We had the methodology driven forward by our federal environmental agencies in the mid-90s, and we based some of our regulations on that. For example, the packaging ordinance was a regulation on drink packaging. And of course, we also base the standards of our Blue Angel or our Green Public Procurement on that. And yes, we did support the international initiatives on life cycle assessment, like ISO 14040, the life cycle initiative of UNEP-CETAC, and so on. So there's a lot of tradition and also a lot of knowledge, not only in some of the institutes, but also in our Federal Environmental Agency. And I can tell you that I started my work in the ministry 19 years ago with the life cycle assessment of drink packaging, and our now Chancellor, former environmental minister, arguing with the head of our main industry association about 1.5 hours on turnarounds of multi-use drink bottles and the recycling rate of single-use drink bottles. So this is also on the political level. What are our goals? I mean, it's quite important to make very clear what you want to achieve with this kind of policy, with this kind of measures. And for us, the environmental optimization of products and services is the most important thing. We want to take into account the whole life cycle of products and not only a part of it. We want to take into account all relevant impact categories and not only some, like product carbon footprint does. We want to make use of reliable and possibly standardized assessment methodologies. That's why we were constantly engaging in the harmonization of these methodologies. Yes, our goal is the comparability of the results, difficult enough. And yes, we want to incentivize a competition on best environmental performance of products. And then we want to make use of reliable and understandable and possibly known communication means. And with that, we want to enhance the dissemination of environmentally friendly green products. So I think we are not that different from the communication of the Commission of April this year. So how do we assess the PEF approach? And as I said, we very much welcome the approach put forward by the Commission. We think it's absolutely necessary to harmonize the assessment methodologies even beyond ISO 14040. We think it's necessary to strengthen the comparability of environmental impacts of products, and therefore the development of environmental footprint product category rules is very important. If you look at the situation nowadays, each and everybody develops its own product category rules, and that doesn't help very much. And at the end, it doesn't help the consumer at all. So we think this is a very good idea to do this on a European level, to do it with a huge market share organizations. We want to facilitate the environmental assessment of products, make it easier for the companies to do it, to analyze their value chain, their product chain, and therefore enhance the dissemination of green products. And addressing issues like data quality, critical aspects of impact categories, and so on. I think this is on a technical side quite important as well. But yes, for us, there are still some open questions on that approach. The effects on existing policy tools. I mean, there are existing policy tools, and I think they are very valuable. So how does it fit in? How will that maybe be made consistent with the tools like the labeling, the green public procurement, the roadmap on resource efficiency, the eco-design directive, which is quite a sharp instrument. So how will that be done? Will PEF be used for the eco-design directive studies, for example? That would be very interesting to know and to see how this will develop. Also, what are the effects of existing LCA activities? I mean, a lot of companies, of course, bigger companies most of the time, in Germany at least, are doing LCAs. And they are a little bit puzzled with what will be the situation in 3 years. So we asked them to continue with their LCA activities and look at the PEF, or we even encouraged them and offered our support for their participation in the pilot studies. But still, there is a little bit of uncertainty we recognized in our talks with industry. And how will it affect the ongoing standardization efforts, ISO 14040? I think that should be made clear. And effects on the internal market, yes, will it be different from the instruments we have so far? And how will this all be implemented? As I heard this morning, that might be a question which should be posed later. But still, I think it's necessary to think about that already now, think from the end, and also discuss it in the steering committee. Challenges as far as our experience is with life cycle assessment, I mean, data availability was already meant before. The comparability of results, is it really comparable? And how will it be compared? The dissemination of the PEF approach, what are the incentives to use the methodology for the companies? And of course, how will it be implemented and how will it be communicated? This is difficult, I think, as well. What are we doing? We will accompany the pilot phase by a project launched, and Matthias Finkbeiner, chair of SC5 in ISO, the committee dealing with life cycle assessment, will do that for us. They will accompany the pilot phase. We offered our support for German companies. We will participate. A colleague of mine is participating in the steering committee, colleague of my division. And of course, we will follow very closely the communication approaches there. Let me conclude by saying, yes, we welcome it very much, but there are a lot of challenges and questions to be addressed in the process, but we are looking forward to do that with the Commission, the stakeholders, and the other member states. Thank you.